psychologists. Google News every day there is a case of workplace bullying all around the world, and you will begin to see the commonality of experiences and the sense that this is not me. I mean, as I went through that agonizing, and by the time you realize it's not you, your health has been compromised. But I think if you could tap into this early, this is not me. So I'm not the crazy person here. It kind of perhaps gives you that initial little jolt of support and strength to endure.
Can I just say something? That the last thing you mentioned, it's important to get the support, right? If you could find other colleagues in the workplace, hopefully you're not the only one, that could relate to what you're experiencing, then you could talk together. That's one form of support. We forgot to mention that we included a lot of community resources, to help the Black community, and other resources that are more for the wider population. It's on that desk over there, so if you want, you could take a copy. So, but I think finding support for this is the key, and sometimes you may have an employment assistance counseling program at your workplace, and you go, but that person may think, what are you talking about? It's all in your head, they may not relate, right? So if you could find a person that you can relate with, then that's better.
Thank you so much for identifying the workplace bullying, because it is definitely one of the major issues right now, and how people manipulate the system to still bully folks in the context of even in the most organized workplaces. And we must understand also that many people from our community don't work in organized workplaces and do suffer at the hands of people that even have more autonomy over them. I'd like to ask Leanne to introduce herself and to give us some perspective from her field of expertise.
Myself?
Yes.
Okay.
Am I saying your name?
Diana.
Diana.
There's a Diana, that's why I'm not sure.
Or two.
Okay, so my name's Diana Jerry. I actually have been in the beauty industry for a long time, but I'll take it back a little bit to share, I guess, my trauma. I was 16 when I had my first daughter, so I became a teen mom, which already kind of put a stigma on me. But shortly after that, probably about when my daughter was 2, I lost my mother to pancreatic cancer. And my mom was my sole caregiver. So she was the one that I looked up to, the one that I looked for support, the one that I looked just for everything. Anything that I needed, she was the person. And when she became ill with pancreatic cancer, it took a toll on me, because I was now the caregiver to her through her journey, as well as I had a daughter to take care of. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous, so I'll just take a breath. And this is one of my mechanisms for helping me to deal with my trauma and my healing, is breathing. And just taking a breath. So yes, so to continue, I then became a single mom, and became very lost in the world, where my support and my roots were now, I had no connection. I had no one I could go to, so I became lost. A year after that, I met my then husband, who we got together probably 6 months after I became pregnant, and that's when the abuse started on that level. He became very verbally abusive, very physically abusive as well. And to speak about what you were saying about bullying, I was bullied. I was meant to think that I was less than. I was meant to think that I was not worthy. I was meant to think that something was wrong with me. And I held that for a long time. I had more children during this relationship. I had 4 more. And in growing them as well, I lost a sense of myself. And there was a time when I was pregnant with my 4th child that I became very depressed. So I started to just kind of seek out other things. I just started talking, having conversations. I grew up in the Catholic Church, so I knew how to pray, but I didn't feel a connection there. So I started to do my own research and doing my own, finding my own resources to kind of find out why I was feeling these ways, and decided that there was more in life for me than to be in the situation that I was in. And I packed up my 3 kids and pregnant at 6 months, and I left. I went to a shelter I was in there for almost 2 months before I talk and the things that we need to deal with in terms of our energy centers and helping to balance that so we're able to feel healed and feel relief. And I think that goes deeper than anything else that we can do. So
That's awesome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being bold enough to share your story with us. Philip.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Could you please introduce yourself and share?
Well, my name is Philip Johnson.
Everyone, can you hear?
Can you hear me? I'll talk a little louder. My name is Philip Johnson. I've been here longer than most. I came in 1967, where there was very few people looking like us was here. So, how's that? Is that better? Good. Thank you. So I came in 1967. Well, racism has been always a part of my life. There's no two ways about it. You know, I won't talk about what happened with my dad and myself and my mom. Being here and getting, sorry. I would not talk about, is this on? Hello? Okay. I would not talk about my mom, my dad, and myself being here for about a week and getting kicked out of their place. I won't talk about that because of, you know, the guy says he's not accustomed to having many blacks in his home. But let's talk about, you know, when I was working for the City of Toronto. I'll go right there. Working for the City of Toronto, they have rules and regulations when it comes to certain things. 3 caretakers, for whatever reason, put on white hoods and paraded up and down shouting white power. A supervisor came to me, asked me if they did that. I say yes. I reported it. Do what I'm supposed to do. All of a sudden, these caretakers were shipped out. And they were quite upset. So what they did is that because they were upset with me screaming them out, they had this bleach, this bottle of Windex, knowing that I just cleaned the glasses of the mirrors because they don't like to clean, caretakers who don't like doing their job. They put it up on the shelf above my head. So I went to reach, sorry, I went to reach for it and the Windex exploded. Well, it wasn't Windex, it was bleach. And it almost blinded me. Now, that was reported. The supervisor who was, I did an incident report, the supervisor who was supposed to did an investigation said, he thought it was a joke. A fellow black supervisor. Yeah, it was tough. Because of that, I grew up in an environment where, you know, men are supposed to be strong, and how we handle things in a much more aggressive manner. But when you're in this society right now, we have to learn to talk and, you know, be nice and listen to the system, and the system will protect you and everything, and it doesn't. We realize that, you know what, the system is trying to get you out. So the management, I went from making close to $20 an hour, they dropped me right down to 10. I went from working a 40-hour week, they dropped me down to maybe 22 hours a week. How am I supposed to feed my family? And so, and all of a sudden, they started trying to weed me out of a job. I had to take a leave of absence for me to fight these people, because now where I work was at Parkdale, and they don't like people who rats on other people, right? The caretakers used to come around making jokes, like to get me going, because they realize I tend to have an aggressive nature. So they said, yeah, Phil, how long does it take a black woman to go to the washroom? I say, I don't know. How long does it take a black woman to go to the washroom? Oh, 9 months, because what comes out of it is a piece of... What about this? Not a joke that he told me. What's the most funniest show in the late 70s? The funniest show. I'm thinking Jeffersons, I'm thinking Good Times. I'm going to say Roots, because that's when black people was in their place. It's kind of hard having somebody talk to you like that. You cannot respond. And then when you go to a supervisor, their job is supposed to protect the workers, regardless of race. That's their job. Because if I was a gay person, a white gay person, and I come and complain about the way they treated me, they would have been gone. If I was a female, a white female, and I come and say certain things, they would have been gone. Why is it not because I'm a black male? What's wrong with that? Yeah, I'm still very angry. Still burns me. Still. I have PTSD because of it. I had a stroke a few years back because it's very hard for me that, and no disrespect to the panel, I cannot relate to self-love. Cannot relate to it.
You can't relate to
Cannot relate to it.
Self-love.
self-love.
I cannot relate to it.
Yeah, yeah.
I can relate to anger and aggression. I can relate to want to get back at it. That's what I can relate to. That's me right now. You know, everybody looking for solutions. My solution is that we need to fight. Enough is enough and too much is too much. And this political way of dealing with things does not work. Honest to God, I tried it, and I think that we as a people need to take a much more aggressive approach and try to fight this thing, because I see too many of us being hurt mentally because of it. Too many, man. I was listening on the news of this native person getting shot in the head and the guy getting off. I mean, that's nothing to do with us, but still, a Caucasian person shoot a guy, he's supposed to go to jail. What happened? Oh my God, because he's Caucasian, he doesn't go to jail and the person's dead? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the pain that you go through? Tell me. No, I'm one of those people that, you know what, I'm very angry. I'm a very angry individual right now. I'm angry because we are trying to do things the right way and we're getting our butts kicked. We're trying to be nice and try to go through the system and try to, you know, I grew up, I coach basketball, okay? And the guy who taught me how to coach basketball was a racist, flat out racist. He called me nigger so many times I thought that was my middle name. Honest to God. I thought that was my name. And that's how I grew up. Unlike you guys, I mean, you guys came in, I mean, a lot of you people were born here and you came, but I came here in the 60s, before Martin Luther King was assassinated. I know the system well. I was one of those people that was saying, you know, you know what, that's back in those days now. And then until it started happening to me, I said, wow, me, I'm educated, right? I'm not supposed to be experiencing this. It's painful. It's very, very, very painful. And until we as a people rise up and say enough is enough and too much is too much, it's going to continue. That's how I feel. I am sorry that it might be contradictory to whatever anybody else is feeling, but that's how I feel it right now. That's what I see.
I have a question for you, actually. I really relate to a lot of what you're saying, but I'm wondering to you, when you think of Black people rising up, because I believe we're all individual, and not saying that you don't, but we all have, there are things that some of us don't relate on and other ones do. And it's often left as, well, Black people need to get together, Black people need to take a stand. What does that mean when you say it? Like, what does that mean to you? How do
Well,
you
you know something, I find a lot of times, us as a people, we're very critical of each other. You know what I mean? You know, I could always relate it to a church. You know what I mean? When it's a white minister, everybody, oh yes, pray, oh yeah. But when it's a black minister, we have all sorts of negative things to say about the black minister. And the white minister might be doing this worse dirt than the black one. I find that we as a people, regardless of how we feel, we need to lock that down and just support. Just say, you know what, we're doing a good job.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I came here, not because I have to, I came here to support. That's the bottom line. Help each other. You know? And the only way we will help each other, right? The only way is to, you know, these little petty things, get rid of it. Complaining, get rid of it. You know, we've been complaining from a long time. And what has it done? Where are we better yesterday than we are today? We're the same. So it's either we fight together or we keep our mouths shut and let the ones who want to fight continue.
We're going to pause there, but we'll continue right after lunch. But we've got to speak to what it takes to unify when you hate yourself. Because the idea of unity is easily said in our conversations at barbecues and basically I say black people are unified. But to understand it, we have to understand whence we've came. We have come a long way and have been conditioned to expect the worst things from ourselves also. It's not only how the outside world sees us. And we have to have that internal soul searching and accept this, the melanin.
Can I just say something quickly, very, very quickly? The topic we have here for this panel is, what is it? Don't let any trauma take away your power. Now, I am using the word bullying instead of racism and so on because we have to accept that other races and other people are bullied too. And that black people bully black people, like said he had, and I'm trying to understand the reasons why a black labor relations manager should have done what she did to me. And I'm asking in an article, is it fear, is it, you know, pressure to do this because you might lose your job? But the quick thing that I want to say is, one of the first ways I believe that we can not let trauma take away our power is to recognize, that because we have been subject to this for so long, we can offer leadership and support services to others. We can be the leaders here. And that we should stop claiming every pathology, every social disease, every disorder as a black people thing. That this is what would happen to people from any demographic, other things being equal, subject to the same stressors. This is how they would relate. So this is not because we are black. Nobody has done anything to me because I'm black. A lot of them did it because they were white. It's not my problem, it's yours. And we need to flip these things around. So,
Great discussion. Lunch is here, and we don't want it to be cold. So please help yourself. It's self-serve, and we'll convene in half an hour. It was not so great. Yes, but the sense of it is that he has an aunt in his family that calls him foolish on a regular basis. And he has pressures regarding his ability academically. And you know some of the cultures back home where if they don't pass their common entrance or I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him. And somehow he's kind of unique in the environment within the school, so he's picked on. And when he's taking the bus home, he's getting slaps in his head. And he's tried to kill himself before, but he deliberately did it where they would find him. But this time, he's saying that he's going to do it, and he doesn't care anymore. He has had thoughts of shooting people himself, but he won't do that. He's changed his mind about that. He's thinking now that he'll just take it out on himself and stop living. But one of the key things he complains about is Auntie Joy, that always saying that he's foolish, and giving him that sense of who he is. Whether it be him, as I said before, or the person, the lady that was beating her daughter with the machete, we look at it as, we have to look at it as there's two victims. He's a victim, and the Joy is also a victim. Because I remember once watching a program, I think it was Diane Sawyer. She was interviewing a grandmother and a young man, and what had happened was the mother and the father were lost. It was during a crack epidemic, and the mother and the father was lost to the street. The mother didn't know whether they were alive or not alive. So in that period, there was a lot of grandmothers that were taking care now of that second generation. And the grandmother, in her protection, didn't allow the child to go out into the neighborhood because they were in a government housing area. And when Diane was interviewing the young man, she said to him, you must miss not going outside to play with the other kids and so and so. And then he says, no, I wish Mama would hug me. And then when Diane said, and went to interview the grandmother, you could tell that perhaps she was from the South. And she says, she turned to her and said, my mama never did hug me. And we have a challenge to show love openly. When I grew up, I don't think I saw many men and women walking holding hands, or you know what I mean? It's just not a machismo thing. So these are all part of our stories, and the challenge for bringing the master tried to break our spirit for us to conform. We not replicate that culture to break people, to break each other in conformity, and answers are in physical injury. And that permeates into the conditioning, into everything that affects us. And really challenge. But Garvey had said anything that man had put together, another man can undo it. So it is with optimism that we have these forms, that we can change this.
Agreed.
We can change this, but it is not us flying alone. The birds don't fly alone. The ants don't work alone. We can change it.
Agreed. Thank you.
To go back on topic, I think Phil. I think Phil is out for a while. So if any one of our panelists would like to share anything with us, we'd appreciate it.
I would go with that piece because that was very disturbing for me, and I think so many young persons are struggling with that. Not just criticism around performance, academic performance, but criticism around sexuality. And when I think about this, it talks about the Willie Lynch letter and the making of a slave. And I think this somewhat of the premise from where we should. I think I was talking to a colleague of mine who is also a clinician, and just yesterday, and we're talking about how do we get down to the root of what's going on within our black communities. And I think there is also another clip where we oftentimes respond to, we talk about the iceberg of behavior, where we often respond to the behavior, what we see, and we spend little time paying attention to the feelings and emotions and thoughts. And that oftentimes is pushed to the back, and we are responding, our communities, individuals are responding to what we see. I think we have to start looking deeper at what's happening with our communities. And I raise this because I think this is a very interesting way to see ourselves. And how, and in this, the letter speaks about breaking the man like it breaks the wild horse. And I think it has shaped us and fashioned us into becoming this very responsive individuals who oftentimes go by directions. And as I also talk about that, when I think about that, we need to also talk about how we define love within the black community as well. We also need to talk about love within the context of the church, because again, some of those pieces are intersecting with how we see each other. We are in a society where we are very big on discrimination. And we were fashioned to discriminate against things that are different, things that we don't understand, and things that we can't relate to, that may go against our values, our belief systems. And so if it doesn't rest well with us, we can't even relate to it. And so how do we even have those conversations where differences can surface within the room or within our conversations, and we can listen, we can learn about each other, and we can also support others even where our values may differ. Because again, when I think about what we are here today to talk about black trauma, we cannot just see it as one singular issue. And I'm going to put myself on the line. I am a gay man from Jamaica who lived in Jamaica for a number of years into my adult years. Grew up in a family with 5 brothers, 2 sisters, who never felt love in the family. But I sit here today because I had to do some work, not just by myself, I would be selfish to say that, but I've had to do some work with other individuals. My mother was the one person that I knew who loved me. And like that young person, you might have thought that I covered my face when the story began. I could have been like him. And there are many other young persons who are not only struggling around different forms of discrimination, but are also struggling around sexual forms of discrimination around their sexual identity, who oftentimes take their lives because places are not being created for them to be themselves. And when I work with young persons in my practice right now, I work at East Metro, and I often see a number of young men in particular who come into my therapy room to talk about discrimination at home and discrimination in the school system. And there is little time being spent understanding what's going on with them and where their pains. And again, we also talk about a society where we don't talk about our pains. We suppress it. You know what? Go play. I don't understand what you're talking about. Get over yourself. Stop crying. Men don't cry. How do we expect men to step up and talk about their pain and their anger and their hurt when we don't create the space for these conversations to happen? We hug our girls, we pull them in, but we push our boys away because our boys need to go fix themselves. Get over it. Be a man. Grow up. How do we expect? And then we talk about the prison to pipe, the school to prison pipeline. where are our men going to find and spaces to talk about their emotions and their feelings? When they take up a gun is the last resort because they never spend time in being in touch with themselves and grounding themselves and being in touch with their emotions and their feelings. So they then